the book of Jude. Jude 1, verses 1 through 8. It reads as follows: Jude, the servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James, to them that are sanctified by God the Father and preserved in Jesus Christ and called, mercy unto you, and peace and love be multiplied. Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and exhort you that ye should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints. For there are certain men crept in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our God into lasciviousness, and denying the only Lord God and our Lord Jesus Christ. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterwards destroyed them that believed not. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness until the judgment of the great day. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Likewise, also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignity. So I'm hanging my hat on Jude 1 and 3. Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and exhort you that ye should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints. For a few minutes on today, I'm sharing from the subject, contending for the faith. Say that with me, contending for the faith. I went to the lexicographer for the definition of contend, and contend means to struggle, to surmount, to strive or vie in contest or rivalry or against difficulties. Saints, we're in a fight. You will go through some difficulties as a child of God. Much to your dismay, sometimes we'll discover that this good old ship of Zion was designed to be a battleship and not a cruise ship. Saints, we are living in an ever-changing world. Change is at the forefront of so many things, both good and bad. We're living in a new day where a 2-year-old can literally have a parent that gave them their own cell phone. Then we also live in a day that the 2-year-old's great-grandmother can also have a Yo Gotti ringtone on her phone. We're living in strange times. These are the times that the late Bishop James Oglethorpe Patterson Sr. said were times that man has never seen and God himself has seldom seen. Yes, change can be a good friend, but some change has to be challenged. Even in the things of God, there are things that shouldn't exactly still look like Big Mama's church, but some of Big Mama's church values should still be with us. The writer in this text, Jude, was the brother of James, who was the half-brother of Jesus. Instead of claiming his relationship to Jesus, Jude humbly called himself the servant of Jesus Christ. The purpose of Jude's letter or epistle was initially to be a letter to write of the common salvation to his friend. But after Jude noticed that the preponderance or false teachers that had secretly entered the church, Jude found it needful to urge his readers to contend for the faith entrusted to him. Contending for the faith is not just a vigorous defense of the Christian faith, but it's a cry for the advancement of the gospel as well. This was Jude rallying a call to action, and not only for the talk of the saints, but also for the walks and the obedience of the saints as well. People of God, there are things even in God's house that we need to surmount. When I was much younger, as a college student at Memphis State University, I took a class called Black Rhetoric. from Dr. David Acey. It was there where I got heavy into Alex Haley, who's incidentally a relative of mine. Alex Haley wrote the book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X. This led me into black nationalist studies and eventually started some of my serious flirting with the Nation of Islam. I even recited the Shahada. And then there came a day that I hit rock bottom and Muhammad didn't answer my call. He put me on serious hold. And I didn't find peace. I didn't find peace until I called on the name of Jesus. I remember a guy in the Nation of Islam once told me that he liked witnessing in the streets to Christians because most Christians don't know how to defend their faith. Then he said that he wins most Christians by showing them things in their own Bibles that they don't understand. This minister from the Nation of Islam knew that most Christians hardly read their Bibles after their Sunday services. Saints, that has always motivated me as a preacher of the gospel. When I was younger, when my memory was better, I was called a walking Bible. When I was younger and my memory served me better, as a defender of the faith, I never wanted it to be said that I couldn't defend the faith. I'm not talking about arguing over the faith with loudness, but I'm talking about rightly dividing and breaking down the word of truth. Now let me break this down to you in 2026. There's a little bit of everything being taught in our churches. We're mixing the gospel with positive thinking, mind science, the law of attraction, our Greek letter organizations, and a little bit of everything else. In our longing to be seeker sensitive and to fill our pews, just think of how you hardly ever hear the word sin, how you hardly ever hear the words hell, and how you hardly, even in holiness churches, we're so busy confessing, naming it, and claiming it, and grabbing it, and hauling it, that we have so little time to hear about living right. We become so addicted to cotton candy preaching. How do we ever forget the words of Jesus from St. Mark 8, verse 36? For what shall it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? How do we get so caught up with bigger that we lost our hold on better? How do we ever stop preaching that which was right? The church has spent much of the last 30 years preaching stuff. I've been guilty of that also. But what happens when the stuff isn't there anymore? What happened to us speaking out about social justice matters? What happened to the pulpit speaking about the oppression of our people? What happened to the pulpit championing the least of these? Saints, God is calling us to earnestly contend for the faith that was once delivered to the saints. Saints, I prophetically can boldly say that so much what goes on in today's church is more from the ingenuity of man rather than the breath of God. So much that we call God has nothing to do with him. A lot of times the church current and the church vibe is to please our own flesh, even in God's house. My brothers and sisters, we're living in crisis times. That man that got us over there, and every day he's talking about how he decimated those folks and how those folks got no choice and no chance to come back, and every day they blowing something else down. So tell them we might not need to believe what he's saying. The hearts of men have grown so cold. We must earnestly contend for the faith. Are there any contenders in the house on today? Saints, I wasn't born in the church of God in Christ. I decided to join it. When I joined it, I was so impressed by a group of folks who didn't desire to just preach it, but they were committed to living it. What has happened to that type of living even in our church? Saints, I feel that we're living in an Andre Crouch moment where we need to say, Lord, take us back to where we first believed. It's been said that close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. How awful would it be to be so close to making it to heaven and then miss it? How awful would it be to miss heaven by inches? Socrates said that the unexamined life isn't worth living. Can we start putting our own selves under the microscope? We're living in a moment where I saw holiness preachers and a holy convocation that felt called, that felt comfortable sitting at a bar with their clergy and their chains on. I'm not saying that you will go to hell for obtaining a drink, but I'm not going to risk sitting with you and finding out. Yesterday, I had a test because a guy was, I accepted a job earlier this week after a long season of trying to look for one. And then right when I accepted one, somebody comes with an offer, but the offer came with a drink. He pulled out that high dollar bottle of wine and everything. And, I'm looking, he talking about, man, if I had just took a little sip, you know what I'm saying, man, if I took a little sip, and forgot about it, I might have been made big bang hey. But I told him, no, that ain't what I do. It didn't make him feel good and everything else. But tell him sometimes you got to hold on to what you hold on to. I didn't drink with him, so y'all passed away somewhere where y'all talking about no Temple Love members nowhere to be seen. Man, that little, how you have the little man on this shoulder, and little man on that shoulder, with one on this shoulder said, man, go take that sip. Never been a drinker. I wasn't a drinker even when I was a heathen. So it just wasn't my thing. Saints, the world is always watching. That would have been their moment because other people were around. They were waiting on that moment. Why would we ruin our Christian witness so easily? Saints, my salvation cost me something. My life was an absolute mess. I put my trust in Jesus, and then he sent that woman into my life, and little by little, he changed my life for the better. Serving the Lord has its benefits. Saints, I have a faith that cost me something. I'm also sure that I'm not the only one who may have that same type of faith. Ask someone close by you and say, did your faith cost you something? I pray that it did. Will you contend for the faith? Saints, they've been saying that time is winding up for ages. A lot of people are tone deaf to that warning. Now, first of all, we got a man that could be in latter stages of mental anguish or mental dementia, and he got the codes for the nuclear codes. What if he says if he's dying, he's going to take the rest of us with him? However, we're in a signal moment where every day that you go out of your door, you see just a little bit more of the book of Revelations coming to pass. We're in the midst of the foretold great falling away. Saints, even though it's falling time, don't you dare fall. When I came into holiness, I noticed so many great ministry gifts that blessed my life. Some now even from the grave via their books, tapes, and videos. I've seen great ministries destroyed because this man or this woman with such a blessed gift couldn't keep their flesh under control. This flesh is a beast and wants to have his or her way. Saints, we can't allow our flesh to rule us. Saints, if there was ever a time to return to holiness, it's now. Preaching like this don't win me many friends, but a friend won't stand before Christ for me on Judgment Day. I one day have to face Christ for myself, and I don't want any of your blood upon my head. As I said earlier, we need more battleship messages than we need cruise ship messages. Does your life feel like a cruise ship or anything like it? Saints, this isn't a love boat. There's a heaven to win and a hell to shun. Are there still any contenders here, or have you gone to sleep on me? Saints, I want to make it in. I saw my mom die a horrible, gut-wrenching death in slow motion due to congestive heart failure almost 6 years back. Just just to keep in mind, I have to believe that she's gone on to her reward. I one day resolved to not only see Jesus, but also my mother in glory. Every day I will contend for the faith. Will you earnestly contend for the faith? I heard my wife give a word of encouragement to one of her younger relatives years ago. Our younger relatives told us that life is hard. And that is true. Life is hard, saints. Contending for the faith won't come easily. But Sister Smith told her that morning that the Lord allows you every day, that the Lord allows you to wake up. It's another day to kick some doors in. Look at the neighbor close by and ask them to use a little bad English with it. And ask them, is you kicking? Is you kicking? Is you kicking the doors in? Is you kicking? People of God, let's keep kicking. Let's keep contending. Saints, it's a tough fight. But I just felt the Lord come into this place. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let the whole earth stand before him. Saints, evil being have crept in unaware. We've been in a flesh-induced stupor when God has called us to be sober and vigilant. So our borders have been breached. 2 Timothy 3 verse 13 states, but evil men and seducers shall wax worse, deceiving and being deceived. We're living in an evil day. Saints, they beat up the hype man on Beale Street last night. Hype man should have pulled out that belt and played with them reserve folk. They ain't playing about that. Hey, they ain't playing that. Woo! Boy, I ain't going on Beale Street. I told somebody, man, if I go on Beale Street, it's going to be so early in the day, you ain't going to know. It's going to be 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock before, because, man, I used to get my shoes shined on Macklemore at Anthony's Unique Shoe Shine. It's at Macklemore in Lauderdale. And I promise you, you can drive up and down Macklemore till about 2:30. Ain't nobody out, because they all sleep. Houdini had a song and he said the freaks come out at night. But get that late by 5 o'clock and they waking up, boy, that's when it all started popping off. Tell them, get there early. We're living in an evil day. We have some folks in church that are double agents, some pretenders, some wolves in sheep clothing that have crept into the fold. And some of these characters will even deceive God's elect. Don't allow that to be you. Don't allow that to be your family. Don't allow that to be Temple of Love. Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to contend for the faith? Are you ready to fight the enemy whenever and wherever you find him? We must contend for the faith. We have to fight. We have some battles to wage. We have some mountains to overcome. We got some history to make. We need to draw the line in our churches and tell the enemy is here and no further. We need to let Satan know that he's going to stop building camps in our churches, in our families, and in our homes. Saints, I'm here to contend for the faith. I pray that you have the same resolve. The late Dr. James Cone once said that theology can't pretend injustice doesn't exist. I can stay up here and talk about God in heaven and walking around all day in my robe and telling the story, but my brother over here is hurting and I play like I don't see him. That's why so many people are out with the church right now. How can you sit here? I got a guy that talks, he's critical of every leader that's black in Memphis, Tennessee. Looks just like me, but he's critical of every black leader, but he sings at Bellevue Baptist on Sunday. How can you see? Because what they're teaching, we have to realize that a lot of what these TV preachers, they're not talking about all these programs. They just had another thing where they hit scholarship programs for black students, talking about wiping it out because of BEI. How many times they have to see what we see. Are you truly worshiping Christ or you worship being white? And so many of them are. We just got to know the difference. How can we preach heaven all day long and say nothing about the hell that many face down here. I'm not going to be one of them. But I heard Dr. Boyce Watkins, a leading black thought leader, and he said this yesterday. He said, we're so used to being in fights as black folks that we forget that not only can we put up a defense, but we can also be in offense. Tell them it's your play. Look at somebody close. Tell them it's your play. Give me the ball. It's time to run. It's time to drive. It's time to take a variable. It's time to get up. It's time to start a business. It's time to put yourself on. I sat here and I felt, because sometimes your confidence, the enemy comes for your mind and your confidence. Here you are, and God has blessed you and really great. And whatever they pay you, I don't care if they pay you $100,000 a year. If they pay you $100,000 a year, guess what you making them? You making them $900,000 a year.
That's so true.
They always will make you try to set them and set the limit. But I believe that you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. I believe you were created in the image and after the image of God himself. You are a chosen people. You are the apple of God's eye. I'm talking about you chocolate folks. Yeah, you chocolate folks. You folks with the bigger lips. And you folks sometimes with the bigger noses and everything. I'm telling you that God has made you great. You were not created for mediocre. You were not created to be on the bottom of the barrel. God told you in the book that you're the head and not the tail. You're to be above only and not beneath. Psalm 119, verse 71, it hit where I felt this week because, it's amazing, all that time looking for a spot and the spot was within me, and then just sitting somewhere yesterday, somebody offered to double my pay, but I wanted to be out of the industry and go on to something else. I've been hearing people crying for the last 15 years. That takes a toll on your head. I'm tired of hearing folks crying. I'm tired of hearing what so-and-so didn't do and how so-and-so ain't brought half the money and he got a big old job and he ain't paid nothing on money. He ain't been, and then they said, one guy, they told me, they said, baby sister was crying. She said, my baby sister put on the performance of a lifetime. Baby sister cried. She flipped people that was at graveside. She tried to dive in the grave 3 minutes, and then the sister told me, Steve, you better get baby sister. I said, well, she missing her mama. She said, baby sister ain't been to see mama in 4 years. And baby sister tried to steal mama's house. Look, folks, but we some different folks. But listen to this, Psalm 119, and this is for those of us, because we feel like we only need to be Christians when things are good. God didn't promise you the mountaintop all the time. David said this in the heat of his affliction. It is good that I was afflicted. Saints, I'm telling you, sometimes I need you, sometimes the right thing to motivate you ain't being on the top of the mountain. I need you to tell me what I can't do. I need you to tell me what I won't do. And I'm going to get mad, I'm going to move the earth to show you. That's all you need sometimes. It's good that you are afflicted. Sometimes they need to laugh at you. Sometimes your name need to be on the highway. Sometimes they need to tell you what you can't do. And all of a sudden, that thing that was asleep on the inside of you starts to wake up. I know some folks right now, and I remember when I first started at the cemetery back in the day, Deborah thought I had absolutely lost my mind. I had a successful career in the car business, but I had never saw my daughter grow up. And we're living in the same house. I was getting home at 10, 11 o'clock at night. That ain't good. Most guys in the car business are on their third and fourth wife. Too much time. So do you keep making money and tear up your home? But I went into another industry, and they started me on a $300 a week guarantee. And Deborah thought this boy had lost his doggone mind. But before it was over, they were laughing, and people will laugh at you when you start anything. Sometimes you have to start. It ain't gonna look good at the start. But as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, if you keep pushing, as you push, all of a sudden it got respect for me. And I'm telling you right now that what you do right now The day of small beginnings. Sometimes you gotta start just where you are. Sometimes you gotta start that little cooking business, and you gotta take that one customer, and that one customer turns you on to another customer. I sat there yesterday, kind of feeling forward. I was sitting with a guy who had millions with an S. And I was feeling not so good about myself because of a recent battle. And this guy told me, he said, Steve, you were at Central. You know what you were? And I said, what was I? He said, dude, you were the link between the bougies and the thugs. He said, man, because you were both of them. He said, no, not one of us had that connection. You were the link between both of them. Sometimes you need to be around other people. Sometimes you what you think that you are worst at, somebody's praying to be just like you. Sometimes you need to be around your enemies and hear what your enemies here say about you. Maybe you around here mad about your big old lips and your dark skin, and they'll be around there, boy, I wish I had lips like so-and-so. I wish I was dark like so-and-so. The very thing, point over there at them and tell them the very thing that you think that you're not on top of the mountain for. Somebody's praying to be just like you. I'm telling you, there's no secret to what God can do. What is done for others, He'll do the same thing for you. You ain't got to be jealous of nobody. Just study them. Study what they do. Put your little flavor on it. And I'm telling you, don't be big enough to learn from somebody else. God has came in here today. We're a small church, but I think we're a small church with the right heart. We're a small church with the right minds. Nobody here is trying to forget. We're so easy to forget. All of a sudden, I've been knowing you since we were children, and I've known you as Deborah. Now you're Deborah. I've been knowing you as Jay. Now you're Jay. I'm saints of God. You gotta watch some of us. When we start making money, when we start coming up, we forgot where we came from. Mr. LeBron James has the right to talk about any hotel that he wants, but when he wanted to take a whole team from an entire city, and then you out here golfing with a bunch of folk that don't look like you, and you talk about your people in front of other people. I love LeBron James, love this game, ain't said nothing since he came across Memphis. He gotta come back and make it right with Memphis. Tell somebody, LeBron gotta make it right. You don't come talking about our people. Our people have enough struggle. We don't need to fight people who look just like us. Yeah, all you black MAGA members, all you black people who are saying make America great. A guy told me, he said, I know every Republican. I've been a Republican, black preacher. I've been a Republican for so many years. I said, well, let me tell you, mister, I know every Republican. They have some meetings that you ain't invited to. They have some meetings that they don't tell you about. Saints of God. All right, you want to be the token when God made you great. I believe that we're the people. Yes, I said it. We're the people of the book. Nobody else looks as much as God's people of promise as we do. You ain't got to become a Hebrew Israelite. You ain't got to go to the nation of Islam. God made his promise to this people who were bound in slavery and who they didn't even want to learn how to read. Well, my grandmother cleaned the white woman's house way across town. Never had probably the taxes taken out of her check. And I just laughed because when she went to do it, you can look at the bus stops, and the bus stops were full of black women driving out to East Memphis to clean their house. Deborah had a grandmother that she was the maid for a rich white family, and believe it or not, she helped raise the boys. And when they had some when the family was in the fix, they came on through. So if we good enough for you in the dark, how can we not be good enough to take pride in ourselves in the daytime? Tell somebody I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. And I'm proud in the day. I ain't gonna just be proud by night. God is blessing us. God's gonna turn temple love into a powerhouse. What Brandon Bell felt in his body. What Brandon Bell was there to establish. What Brandon Bell has believed in. God is going to turn it. And he's going to keep it. He's going to keep pushing it. Saints of God, I'm contending for the faith. You won't come over here. And I'm not no sissy. Wishy-washy man, look at Sister Smith is in the 20. You better not come over there and take her 20. Saints of God, I feel like that about every black woman. I was driving down over my desert one day, and I saw two young men fighting. And when you driving and you in the inner city, you said, no. He said, no, that ain't my fight. And the one young man had started beating a little boy's head. And he beat his boy's head. So a mother just driving up, wasn't either one of them mothers. She put herself in this. She opened her car door and she went to break it up. I didn't have to call Sister Smith. I said, this sister is bold enough to break this thing up. I got her back. I got out of my car and watched her break this thing up. Saints of God, we need people like that. We need mothers that care enough. This ain't her child. Neither one of them her child. But she put herself at risk. And I said, I got her back. Saints of God, look at them folk over there. And maybe they scared. But tell them I got your back. I got your back. I ain't saying we gotta be violent people, but God didn't make us to be pushovers. God didn't make us to be a patsy. It's time to earnestly contend for the faith. Are there any contenders? Can I take a poll? If you're born in the 1940s and you in the house and you want to be a contender, could you stand up? Anybody born in the 1940s? Anybody born in the 1930s? Anybody born in the 1950s? If you in the house, if you want to be a contender, any 60s folk, I'm in the house, I'm a contender. Where you 70s folk, born in the 70s, and you want to be a contender. Any 80s folk, any 80s folk in the house, any 90s folk, all we got all these little year 2000 folk. If you born after 2001 and you in this place, stand on up and say I'm a contender. Folks, we need contenders. We need fighters. We need. I told you, if somebody mess with y'all and they a bail, I got some family members and they grew up in the Cleveland homes. We only saw them at funerals and once or twice at weddings. But if I call on my Buchanan relatives, they know the sign. If I call them Buchanans, they ain't playing when they come. It's a code. I said it's a code 3. If they come, they ain't asking no questions. And I'm sure y'all got a relative or two just like that. Sometimes we're too refined. White folks fight. They fight for each other. They just only show us on the television, but they have problems in their own house. I've been at gravesides burying white folks. I did one service for a white man, a white family, and what blew my mind, was when they found out that the daddy was burying his new girlfriend right next to their mama. Woo! I know y'all think we the only one that clown at Grace house, but tell them they were ready to pitch something. Paul was mad, Daniel was mad, Susie was mad, Thurston was mad. Well, that thing was popping on off. And here my little chocolate self, I'm around here being the referee, keeping this thing from going down. We're all the same. We better be proud of who God made us to be. I'm a contender, and I'm gonna fight for chocolate folks until Jesus comes back. If you're a contender in the house, let me know. Stand up. Be proud of where you came from. Be proud of who you are. And say we contend for the faith. I'm a contender. I'm gonna fight for them youngsters. Because we got the same family name. I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight for the Bills. I'm gonna fight for Sister Shanita, because she got a testimony for everything. I'm gonna fight for Jasmine Crystal. I'm gonna fight for Jasmine. I'm gonna fight for baby girl. You better not talk about the sensational Bell sisters. You better not talk about Sister Dale, Brother Daniel, your sisters and you. They better not say nothing about you. And I was talking to some boat rights out on the other day, and I said, man, you part of them boat rights from over there by Carver School. And he said, I'm kin to him. I said, well, man, I know you valid. Take it back from the boat rights, but they don't play, boy. Love who you are. Tell them I'm a contender. Scream out with me, I'm a contender.